from the depths of the vault. This is Eerie's Vault Live, your number one stream for the uncanny, the weird, and the unexplained. Good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good middle of the whatever of the wherever you are, and welcome to the show. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Lehan Eerie. We'll be hitting the phone lines at about half past the hour. So we'll tell you how to be involved in the show shortly. But of course, as always, before we do any of that, let's have a shout out to my lovely patrons, shall we? This time, in order of how many vowels you have in your name. Because why not? Smallest to largest. Here we go. Bizjadish 143, Henry, Matt T, Melv, Ryan, Zach T, Catman, Gregory, Harry Webb 46, Paul L, Sawboss, Ben Hurl, Chris Slee, Darren Jump, Emu Cat, Gaynor Smith, Greg Russell, Iron Bug, Jerry Shelton, John Diver, John Nelson, Keith Say, Mr. E, Pill Collins, Steadbot, Stu Graham, Adam Mitchell, Andrew Dewey, Buster Piles, Craig McClellan, David Morris, E.J. Osborne, Farson's Finest, Ginger Ninja, Ian Lewis, John Douglas, Johnny A, Paul Redruth, Rudolph Hooker, yes, Todd Van Voris, Aaron Osborne, Amanda McNeil, Baby with a Laser, Brian Henderson, Pamela Peffer, Vincent Hegeland, Baroque Lobster, Louise Matthews, Natalie Leach, Ramona Craig Hill, and again at the end of the list, with the most vowels in your name now, it's Heather Maund Jones. Thank you, all of you, for that extra step of joining the Patreon. If you missed it, there is actually a Patron's extra video as a bit of an add-on to the latest Humanoids video, which I hope everybody enjoyed. Just a little extra thing for the patrons there with a couple of additional cases thrown into the discussion. Now, if you were trying to reach the show on the international line last week, then I owe you an apology because I neglected to top up the balance on the lines, and so you would have been unceremoniously just cut off. My apologies for that. I have now topped up the balance on both lines, so we should be good for a little while longer, I would think. Who have we got in the chat? Let's take a good look at this. Buster Piles is in first today. Hello, Buster. I hope you're well, sir. James Glass. Good evening, James. Welcome to the show. Darren Jump. Hello to you too, and welcome, sir. Cat's Life. Hello there, Cat's Life, and welcome to the show. Theme Queen UK is with us. Hi, Theme Queen. Who else do we have here? We have got Blackest Crow. Yes. Blackest Crow. Welcome to the show, Blackest Crow. Yes. Paul Williams. Hi, Paul. Welcome. And Man with a Pan. Evening all. Hey, Eerie. Good evening, Man with a Pan. What are you going to do with the pan? Do you know what I would love? I would love a fried egg sandwich. That'd be really nice, Man with a Pan. That would be awesome. Dingley Dell. Hello there, Dingley Dell. Welcome to the show. And I've seen a couple of other names, I'm sure. Tony. Hello, Tony. Welcome. Glad you can be with us, Tony. And Gary Edmore we have. Hello, Gary. Welcome indeed to the show. Ian VY2PS says, I see dead people. Oh, dear. Welcome to the show. This is the place to tell us all about it, let me tell you. And we also have Kazam. Hello, Kazam, and welcome to the show. What is that avatar? Is that a cartoon? It's very small on my screen. It looks like one of the Nordic aliens that I've been reading about today. Actually, Steadbot. Hello, Steadbot, and welcome. Belshamharoth, welcome to the show. It's a new name for us there. Sheppy. Hi, Sheppy. Jonks Models is with us. Randy Robert John is with us. Hello, Randy Robert. Yes. Who else? A few more people jumping in there. Quite. So, let's have some eerie news, shall we? Yes, of course, everything is all the rage at the moment in the direction of disclosure from the US government, isn't it? So this is from Time magazine. Hegseth shares update on government release of UFO files under Trump's direction. So, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the Pentagon is working, and they've put that in inverted commas here, on identifying and releasing government files related to UFOs and extraterrestrial life following President Donald Trump's directive. If the Tiago Ventura, who wrote this article, has just used UFOs because you think that's what they call them now, that's one thing. But if the government are about to release files about UFOs, when they've quite clearly transitioned to calling them UAPs, then let's not be surprised if we don't actually get anything. We've got our people working on it right now, Hegseth said on Monday, when asked by a reporter if he was prepared to potentially classify such information. I don't want to oversell how much time it will take, but we're digging in. He added that his team will be in full compliance with Trump's instructions. During a visit to Sierra Space, a commercial aerospace company in Colorado, Hegseth admitted to previously not having the task on his bingo card, as he put it, but said there would be more to come, telling reporters to stand by for updates. When asked if he thinks aliens exist, Hegseth says, "We'll see. I get to do the review and find out along with you." It's a silly question, isn't it, really? It's a silly question to ask an official. None of them are just going to say, "Oh, yes." You're not going to get a yes to that question. Stop asking it. Is what I would say. The Colorado stop was part of Hegseth's nationwide tour of defense industrial bases. Yes. Time has reached out to the White House and the Department of Defense for comment. Trump announced on the 19th of February that he is instructing federal agencies to begin releasing government files. I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life. Here's the qualifier: unidentified aerial phenomena, brackets UAP. But as we up to the minute people know, UAP rather is just the latest version of UFO, isn't it? UFO became UAP for unidentified aerial phenomena, and then there was a sort of hangabout. A lot of this stuff doesn't fly as such. It more hovers or indeed submerses itself. So now the UAP is actually unidentified anomalous phenomena. But we'll see what we get, won't we? And any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters, he said. Trump made reference to the tremendous interest shown over what information the US government may have on extraterrestrial life. This interest was spiked after former President Barack Obama, during a 14th of February interview with progressive podcaster Brian Tyler Cohen, said aliens are real, but they're not being kept at Area 51 and there's no underground facility. Area 51, of course, is a highly classified US Air Force facility in Nevada that has long been the focus for people who are interested in this kind of thing, I guess. Now, these remarks prompted a wave of online speculation. Of course they did, leading Obama to clarify his comments the following day with, "I was trying to stick with the spirit of the speed round, but since it's gotten attention, let me clarify," he said on social media. "Statistically, the universe is so vast that the odds are good that there's life out there, but the distances between solar systems are so great that the chances we've been visited by aliens is low, and I saw no evidence during my presidency that extraterrestrials have made contact with us, really." In the wake of Obama's commentary, of course, it was Trump's comment when he said the former president is not supposed to be giving classified information. There's no indication that Obama revealed any classified information during the podcast. Largely looking like his opinion, but I mean, what do we know? Let's get these files, shall we? Imagine having to look through all of those. I mean, the MOD's declassified stuff is immense and ridiculous, and there's so much of it. And where do you begin? Where do you actually begin? It's crazy, really. You know. Anyway, that's America for you. This is interesting from the Skeptical Inquirer. Not quite news, but it is from the recent issue of February 26. And this talks about ethical issues in ghost investigations. Yes. So, Benjamin Radford is a research fellow at the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry and author or co-author of 14 books, including America the Fearful, Media and the Marketing of National Panics. On television, ghost hunting seems harmless, but do you have any ethical concerns about it, he is asked. Are ethics even discussed amongst ghost hunters? The answer was, hunting for ghosts is not like hunting for truffles, shipwreck treasure, or anything else known to exist. Because their existence is unproven, the defining characteristics of ghosts are unknown, and therefore it would be difficult or impossible for ghost hunters to know for certain that they had successfully captured a ghost. Yes, that's right. This factor weighs on the question of ethics because, unlike ghosts, the rewards of other searchers are known, and any risks involved can be compared. The context of the question is revealing, because television and YouTube are the main mediums, no pun intended, through which the average person encounters real depictions of ghost hunting. Whilst it's a popular, if niche, hobby, few people actually encounter paranormal investigators unless they seek them out or join groups. It's important to recognize that the term ghost hunting covers a diverse set of activities. It might include analyzing photographs of alleged spirits taken minutes or even decades earlier, investigating claims at established ghost tourism locations, haunted hotels, restaurants, residences, etc., and investigating occupied private homes believed to be haunted. I have done all three, says Benjamin Radford. And so have I, ladies and gentlemen, so have I. But Benjamin says I have done all three, and the potential for harm varies greatly by circumstance. Now, way back in the mists of time, when I was heavily involved in the paranormal scene, let's call it, I did my fair share of investigative overnighters, let's say, at various locations around the world. And one of the things I often brought up was an objection to the term ghost hunting as such, believing at the time that they were the spirits of people, and you don't hunt people, do you? Benjamin carries on and says, for example, if I spend the night in a haunted hotel, the risk of harm is minimal. The experience is essentially akin to visiting a theme park or a theatre. The property owners are providing the setting for ghost hunters to perform a legend trip. As long as they are not damaging property, whatever the ghost hunters do or find there is good for business. If they didn't see anything paranormal, well, the spirits weren't cooperating, but they can always try again another time. If they did find evidence, then that's all the more reason to return. At the other end of that spectrum, however, ghost hunters going into a private home have the potential to do real harm to the occupants, in particular by reinforcing their fears and formally validating their ghostly encounters. This is especially true if the ghost hunters are inclined or have incentive to find evidence of ghosts, which is almost always the case. Though ghost hunters often adopt a pseudo-skeptical position, Genuinely skeptical ghost hunters, such as those associated with the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, are neither inclined to, nor have financial incentive to, interpret ambiguous phenomena as evidence for the presence of spirits. We don't need to generate a steady stream of sensational ghost-adjacent content for video platforms, clicks, and ratings, says Benjamin. And it's an interesting area of discussion. What duty of care do you have if you are a professional in this arena and you are in fact visiting residences, private residences, to perform mediumship or, investigative overnighters, etc.? There is a duty of care that you do not willy-nilly just go round screeching, "Oh yes, there's a ghost, there's a ghost." Conversely, as an investigator, you should be careful where you go. I had two very, very alarming experiences in my much younger days, one of which involved sitting in a room with a woman who was claiming to have these events happening. And I was in the, goodness me, I was in the residence and I was doing my sort of opening up, and sensing and just getting a feel for the atmosphere. And this lady began pouring glasses of wine, and I said, no, I don't drink. And she poured a glass of wine and she began to drink the wine, and I began to think, this isn't right, you shouldn't be doing this. And then all of a sudden, she sat down and she looked me right in the eye and she said, "You're going to find," and this is true what she said. She said, "You're going to find here the spirit of the man that I killed." Well, now I used to do this on my own. I used to go and do this solo, and that was a hell of a notification to get out of there. So not only do you have a duty of care to not terrify the lights out of innocent people who think they've got ghosts when they may not have. We shouldn't invent things for people. Conversely, you've got a duty of care to yourself. Where you go, who you see, just always be careful. Because I know a lot of people here like to go and investigate places, and we've had stories of vanishing churches, and investigations into that in the arena. We've had stories of faceless men on salt marshes and a well that is inviting a person into it. And just always be very, very careful when you're out there in the real world. That's my advice, really. There were a few experiences I had, but that was the one that really, really does stand out. It stands out a lot in my mind. Whether she was bonkers, I don't know. But what can you do? I got out of there as soon as I could. This from IB Times, that's International Business Times. DNA bombshell claims Bigfoot was bioengineered 10,000 years ago with human links. Now, I was excited when I saw this. It was published on the 30th of January, so not long ago. But actually, it's a reference to Paulides and his book, which talks about the Ketchum investigation, which, of course, we've talked about quite a bit on here, haven't we? So the DNA study was 2013, I think it was, and they examined hair samples said to be linked to Sasquatch encounters. According to the study, the mitochondrial DNA appeared human and traced back to the Middle East, roughly 12 to 15,000 years ago. However, the male nuclear DNA did not match any known species in global genetic databases. So supporters, of course, interpret this as evidence of an unknown male hominin or non-human contributor, raising the possibility of deliberate genetic engineering. So this has moved beyond the potential of cross-breeding or interspecies breeding, but rather the idea of DNA manipulation at some point, which is something that we have discussed on here in brief, but a few times, this subject of DNA manipulation at some point in history, which is essentially, if you put it into the long story short version, at some point humans appeared to be apes who did not even know how to use fire. Then all of a sudden there is a sudden surge in intelligence, fire the wheel, and look where we are now, talking to each other across the tinterwebs, as they call them, or as I've just called them and wish I hadn't, and, of course, visiting space ourselves. So I don't really know what to make of that. I must buy Paulides' book, actually. It's my favourite subject, but I'm jaded. I'm jaded with Bigfoot because there's just never anything new, is there? Never anything new. However, what is new is this very interesting Loch Ness monster encounter, which I don't think I knew about. So, of course, for centuries, Loch Ness has inspired stories of something vast and unseen moving beneath its dark waters. But while many people associate the legend with grainy photographs, I do detest that phrase, grainy photographs. It's just thrown out there, isn't it? However, I've just used it myself. Some of the most unsettling encounters don't belong to the distant past, but actually to the pretty much present day. Although, again, people on Eerie's Vault, we really know that there is no such thing as the present day, is there? There is only this moment right now, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one, and all the others have gone already. So what does present day really mean? However, in 2024... endurance swimmer Duncan Roberts reported what might be one of the most visceral modern experiences ever described at the loch. While attempting a long-distance swim across the cold black water, Roberts said he suddenly felt a powerful impact against his chest, a solid, physical bump from something beneath the surface. He saw nothing. The water was deep and opaque, visibility almost non-existent. Later, he explained that halfway across the loch, he felt a big thud in the chest, describing the sensation as contacting with something extremely large below him in the darkness, according to a website called Bro Bible. There was no wake, no visible animal, and no confirmation of what caused the collision, only the unmistakable feeling that he just was not alone in that water. In fact, in 2023, divers participating in exploration activity at Loch Ness described unexplained water contact and disturbances detected during dives, reminding them that the loch's extreme depth and near black visibility could conceal movement really only meters away from a witness. It's not my cup of tea to be in water that I cannot see the bottom of. I have to tell you this, and this I think is probably a form of thalassophobia. Okay, so if I'm in water, I need to see the bottom. I need to be able to see well in front of me. I can swim. I don't mind being in deep water, but I do not want a monster poking its head up suddenly and, bumping me in the jacksie with its snout. I don't want that to happen. Especially, can you imagine swimming in Loch Ness? Why? Why would you? I have a friend who does canoe. He does charity canoe rides across the length of Loch Ness. Incredible distance, by the way. And he doesn't believe in all of this stuff, is how he would put it. But goodness me, I can't imagine. The only thing worse than being in a canoe on Loch Ness would just be being in the water in Loch Ness. I do not like the idea of it at all, I have to say. Phobias, they're an odd thing, aren't they? Let's talk phobias tonight. Do you have any particularly amusing phobias or debilitating phobias, let's hear about those. That's one thing we could talk about tonight, isn't it? As Steadbot says, Loch Ness is huge, dark and deep. Of course it is. What a terrifying place. David Owens says it's a perfectly reasonable fear. Thank you. Yes. Why would you just go into water that you cannot see the bottom of? I don't know. Paul says there can't be a prehistoric creature in Loch Ness, though, surely. Well, who really knows? I think a lot of studies have been done. I think the DNA study really probably clinched it. But then there's always that little get out, isn't there? You know, what about the caves? What about the underwater caves? Yes. Who knows? Truthfully. Stephen, hello, welcome to the show. I'm just scrolling up the chat here. David Owens, hi David. I don't know if I've said hello to you. If not, hello again. And all that. Yes. Steadbot was in Inverness earlier the week, but didn't get a chance to visit the loch, sadly. Nevertheless, I can imagine you wouldn't have gone for a swim either, would you, Steadbot? No. Now, let me just check the chat here. The transdimensional hypothesis answers a lot of questions, says Jonks Models. I think Jacques Vallée leans in that direction also. Transdimensional hypothesis. Yes, indeed. So I think I've caught up. Oh, Blazing. Hello, Blazing. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Yes, this is Eerie's Vault Live, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, here's a little break. We're at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air instead. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird, I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. That's right, the unexplained. Andrea, welcome to the show. And Liz, welcome to you as well. And I'm sure I saw Ian. Hello, Ian, and welcome to the show. So Steadbot said that he'd have been tempted for a dip in the loch if he'd had the right things with him. It wasn't a holiday, so I didn't have my trunks or a towel. Steadbot, I would have needed a gun and a cannon, a force field, well, I'd have needed to not be in the loch, frankly. You're braver than I am, let me tell you that. We'll put the phone lines switched on in a moment. Baby with a laser, hello, welcome to the show. As I said at the beginning, if you got unceremoniously cut off last time, then that's because I'd forgotten to top up the phone lines. So now they are topped up, and we will switch them on in just a moment. But here's something I'd like to run by you guys. I know we have some philosophical types amongst us. Hello, Hexotica. Welcome to the show. So I've been thinking about aliens. Surprise. And I was listening to Travis Walton's recollections of his abduction. Well, he does. I don't think he calls it abduction anymore, does he? But let's, for the sake of brevity, Travis Walton's abduction experience. I've been listening to interviews of his, and I began to think, well, you know, these beings that he has described, which I think were, that's right, Ian, yes, Fire in the Sky, that's the chap. These beings were described, or some of the beings, rather, because there were little grey beings who were doing the stuff to him. And he was fighting back. I think he was a boxer. I think he was quite fit and healthy, you know, quite tall. And he said in the interview that he believes the blast of energy that he got in his chest somehow knocked out their ability to control him mentally, as it were. So he panicked, he kicked back, and when he was panicking, he ran towards a doorway, and there was a human-looking figure with a helmet on, who he assumed in the moment to be a rescue operative of some description, but wasn't. It was another class of beings, I think, on this ship or wherever he was. And he describes these blonde, long-haired beings, tall and thin. And then I thought, well, you know, a lot of other people also have described these beings, notably Jesse Rostenberg, who, I forget when that was now, I forget when Jesse's was, but she experienced a very similar sort of being, and countless other, let's call them encounters. It was 1954 was Jesse. There have been other encounters in England, in America, all around the world, okay, that say blonde hair, thin, you know, bearded, very similar looking. And in fact, our friend John Mooner, if you recall, John, I haven't seen John on the show actually for a while, but he was sending us photographs of UFOs that he'd taken and photographs of possible alien beings, also described to us on the show an encounter with these beautiful, if you like, Nordic space brother types. And at the same time I was watching all of this and thinking about all of those similarities, I also happened to watch, I've forgotten who it was now, but I probably was on a Jesse Michaels video, to be honest. But I was watching something about the effects of disruption of space-time, and that being a potential way of propulsion, let's call it, for what we will term UAPs. Okay. So this is not flapping wings to fly, but it is creating a bubble around your environment so that you are essentially not part of the same space-time as the external environment. And I've heard this lots of times, and I've heard this many, many different ways, but I'd never really twigged on this one thing that came to me yesterday as I was making a chicken sandwich, actually. So this is zoning out, making a chicken sandwich. If time behaves differently in the bubble, then how does that affect the entire chronology of the alien abduction law, let's say? Let's call it law. So there's a habit, isn't there, that we have. It's a very natural human habit, of course, and we don't notice that we're doing it really, but we arrange things into a neat procession, don't we? Because this is how we experience time and existence itself, right? This happens first, then this next thing happened, and then years later, something else happened. And by the time you're finished, mysteries look, well, they look almost civilized, don't they? You know, it's a history. You have a timeline. You have a sequence of visits. However, that's our perception. It's not necessarily the universe's perception, because the moment you even put a toe into the waters of modern physics, you discover something very inconvenient for tidy narratives of this nature, and that is that time is not a single shared river that you must float down altogether, that time is local, and time is personal, and time readily belongs to the observer. And just as Steadbot's saying there, this is all about how gravity affects time, because space and time are not two separate dimensions, but are in fact a dimension of their own. So there's an uncomfortable boundary between what the universe allows and what our human minds prefer. Okay, so my question to you tonight is, apart from do you have any weird phobias, right? My question to you tonight is, what if some of the most famous separated by decades encounter reports are only separated because we measure them with human clocks, human minds? What if those things were not a series of events at all? What if, however bizarre it may sound, what if all of those things were just facets of the exact same moment? Not metaphorically, not a not a poetic flourish, if you know what I mean, not flowery language, literally the same, how do you say it? The same operational interval from a visitor's point of view, sort of intersecting our history at different points. A bit like if you have a ribbon and you stretch it out, okay, into a straight line, then you can stretch your hand out like spanning of piano keys, all right? And you can touch your little finger on one bit of the ribbon, you can touch your middle finger slightly further, you can touch your thumb much further away than that. To us, we do that in an order, right? You do it in order, let's say. So the left of the ribbon is the beginning and the right of the ribbon is the end. But you can also just put all three fingers on 3 points at the same time. I don't know if that makes as much sense as I thought it did. But, it sounds a bit... It sounds like you're cheating in a way to try and come up with ideas. But then if you remember, relativity was considered cheating too, wasn't it? Until it actually became, well, the way it became engineering, didn't it? The way things work and are done. Now, let's come at it, not by saying, ooh, this is a brand new theory, right? But look at Jessie Rostenberg, right? 1954, rural Staffordshire, somewhere Ranton, I think it was. She wasn't abducted, but it was an observational encounter, all right? Domestic in setting, in the garden, I think it was. Rostenberg saw a craft low over her home. I think actually the children saw it first and they came running in and saying, Mummy, there's a spaceship. She said, oh, don't be stupid. You've got to listen to Jessie talk. She's a real character. I like Jessie. I do like Jessie. She said something like, don't be stupid. It came outside and, oh, well, wouldn't you know, there they are. Figures within this craft, small occupants seen through sort of illuminated portions of the thing, blonde hair. I can't remember if they were blue or silver clothing, but they looked like beautiful people, is what she said. And then you think, well, Betty and Barney Hill in New Hampshire, okay? And I think it's got to be the 60s. They report a late-night encounter while driving, and they describe seeing humanoid figures through windows of a craft. They report a period of missing time, and later, under hypnosis, a much more elaborate abduction narrative. And yeah, I'm not sure what to make of hypnosis myself, but that was in 1961. All right. Travis Walton, of course, happened. Oh goodness me, was it this? When was that? Somebody tell me when Travis Walton's was. And what about Aerial School, 1994? Dozens of children report seeing one or more objects, and these small, dark, big-eyed, seemingly telepathic beings, I think they mentioned. So 94, 61, 75, 54, all these different years, all these different beings. However, the main thing that got me about this was that Travis Walton said there was another human being captive on the same ship that he was captive on. And that made me wonder, what time was that person from? What time was the other person from? And then that extrapolates into, well, is it possible that we've only been visited once, but we all experience it at the time we experience it? You can tell I'm having trouble putting this into words, but that's the gist of it. So that's something else we can talk about today. If you so desire. I'm going to... Walton was 75. Thank you, Hexotica. Thank you. Buster says, I'm reading an interesting debunk about Walton, I'm afraid, all to do with the logging contract and time constraints. I do think it's fake. You do. I would like to read the other side of that. If you can give me a link or something to that, I'd really enjoy reading the other side of it. Because, of course, we must do that, mustn't we? We must... really, well, I mean, you can do what you want, right? But for me, I must look at both sides. And as much as I yearn to believe, I really like to read both sides. So if you've got a link to something there, Buster, please, sir, I shall take that link. Okay, the phone lines are going live. And there we are. So again, those numbers, if you're in the UK, you can call 0141 673 3743. That's 0141. It's a Glasgow number, 673 3743. If you're in the USA, because I know I've got about 50-50 viewership there, then it's a New York City number for you guys. It's 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie, by the way. And if you're outside of New York City but still in America, you can, of course, dial 1-929 Mr. Eerie. And we do have a WhatsApp alternative as well, so people who are not in the UK and not in the US, we've had people from, I think, Australia, we've had someone from Chile, I recall, various different places. Then you can dial 07903 775 899 on WhatsApp. And those numbers are sort of skirting across the screen throughout. There is, of course, always the option to email as well. And I've just lost all my screens. That was frightening for a moment. Buster says, I will look it out. Oh, hello, Fleur, welcome. Hello, Darth Watsits, welcome to the show. Welcome, everybody. Emu Cat, hello there. Buster says, I will look it out. Basically, they were behind on the logging contract, about to lose money. So the week he was missing gave them a breathing space. Ah, yes. Now, there is a similar... Ray Wallace. Was it Ray Wallace? Now, I always get this. As much as I say Bigfoot is my thing, I get the names wrong sometimes. The logging operation where Jerry Crew found the... Jerry Crew was the cat skinner, wasn't he? Which I had to look up, and I'm glad it wasn't what I thought it was. He was the one who found the footprints around the logging operation. But isn't there a theory that the subcontractor was essentially trying to frighten men away from the site so that he could get out of a sticky situation with the contract. It's very similar, actually. So yeah, I'd like to read that, Buster, please, if you can. No rush, of course. No rush. Tiffany, hello, Tiffany. I've always thought I would love to experience a time slip, but I imagine it would be quite disturbing to actually experience. Those stories are insane. I can imagine that it just stays with you absolutely forever, and it must fundamentally change your view of what our world is and how everything works. How could you possibly go back to a normal life, having experienced even a time slip, never mind abductions and alien creatures? Cute Kanji, hello Cute Kanji, says Walton has addressed that debunking claim and debunked the debunking. I think he said they already were paid or something, so it makes sense. Ah, another angle, you see. Yeah. Blackest Crow says Travis would make an interesting neighbour. I think most neighbours are dull. There you go. Quite. Although, can you imagine hearing it for the 50th time at the, the latest barbecue or something? Did I ever tell you when I was... Yes, Travis, you did. You've told us numerous times. What's this here? Steadbot says, one thing that confuses me about time slips, the planet Earth is never in the... Yes, this is a good point. It's never in the same location in 3D space at any two times. So how does a time slip connect the 2 points? Exactly. And this is, I recall Madman Markham. Now, some of you out there must know Madman Markham. Although it's a heck of a name for me to say, Madman Markham. But I think he began... Now, this is the story, of course. I would love to find a Madman Markham myself to discuss things with on this show. But anyway, he was a chap who devised some do-it-yourself electromagnetic time-traveling gizmo. Okay. It's a hell of a story. And he began teleporting guinea pigs, I think, literal guinea pigs. Sorry, when I say teleporting, what I mean is sending them back in time or forward. Perhaps it was only forward, but nevertheless, he noted that when they would vanish, but they would reappear, but in a different physical location, and he thought that had something to do with the rotation of the Earth and its solar orbit as well. And as you say, Steadbot, yes, measuring it in your own perception of space and time. But as James points out, perhaps this is quantum entanglement at work. Gosh, isn't it all craziness, really? It's craziness, I have to say. Oh, Darth Watsits lives 2 miles down the road from Penturk. Goodness me, now that is a heck of a case there. Did you ever experience any of that? You can let us know if you did. Certainly. Hello, Eerie and chat and everybody. Hello, Jan. Welcome. Yes. Blazing remembers the Art Bell interviews with Madman Markham. Yes. They were so interesting, I have to say. And it escalated. I liked the... I loved listening to the Art Bell stuff. And of course, that's one of the reasons I do this now, right? You know? And I remember in the early days, a few people saying, oh, it's like listening to Art Bell. And I just thought, goodness me, isn't that wonderful? You know, isn't that fabulous? Art, of course, was obsessed with the notion of time travel. He was well into time travel. But yes, he had some crazy callers, some wonderful callers. The Area 51 guy, I remember. And Mel's Hole, of course. All of those things. Steadbot says, I saw an amazing article this week that pointed out when we touch things, we never actually make physical contact with anything at the quantum level. Now, this blows my mind, all right? Because if I kick a wall, I break my foot. Okay. if I kick a wall, I will break my foot, especially if I don't have my shoes on. In fact, let's go back. Let's take this into real life, okay? Many years ago, I know I realize I sound like this guy's done everything, all right? However, many years ago, I was a kickboxer. Many years ago, I was a kickboxer. And I kicked without pulling my toes back, and I got this guy in the elbow, and I broke my toes. Okay? I broke my toes. So, I definitely made contact with that chap's elbow. However, what are particles made of? And what are the things that the particles are made of? And what are the things that the particles are made of that are made of? And how far do you go down into a granular, tiny, 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 tiny little sizes of things before there is nothing? Where does something become nothing? I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. Paul says, do you think the Area 50 guy... well, the Area 51 guy sounded good. It was a very creepy thing, that, because the show went down. They lost the satellite. It's a bigger deal than this, obviously. YouTube. You know, my loyal 80 viewers every week, or every 2 weeks, compared to national radio. However, the satellite went down and then came up on a backup system shortly afterwards. So, and it had never happened before, and I don't think it ever happened since. However, the Area 51 caller did call later, or somebody claiming to be the Area 51 caller called later and said that he'd made it all up and he put on an act and all of that. But of course, who can believe him, right? In fact, he said he'd called under the guise of several characters over the years on the show. And, you know, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. So the answer to that, Paul, really don't know. But it sounded good to me, I have to say. I've seen that time slip story about a couple driving through France, says Dingley Dell, in the 70s who stayed in a village on the way and back from their trip, saying no windows, no electric, etc. But how did they pay? Yes, how did they pay? The physical forces holding the wall in place repel the forces applied by your foot. Okay, I can get behind that. I can see where that is coming from. And here we're talking, again, electromagnetism, right? We're talking about positives and negatives, polarizing effects, and like putting two magnets together the wrong way round, repellents. But why does it break my bones? Why did it break my foot? This is what I want to know. I still have a limp. How deep does the rabbit hole go? Yes, very, very deep, actually. Very deep, it would seem. According to physics, the smallest thing would be at the Planck length. I've seen planks. They're pretty big bits of wood. I don't get that. No, I jest, of course. I jest. But yes, electromagnetic force. The same electromagnetic force that keeps clothes in the shape that clothes are. The same electromagnetic force that allows me to write on paper with ink. That one is a head scratcher, because that is a melding of the two different materials, isn't it? If materials at all exist. Goodness me. Is the electrostatic bond repulsive, says James Glass. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. It's not that bad. Cute Kanji says, have I ever heard of Andrew Biasago and his time travel claims? I have not, but I must look it up. Claims he was involved in Project Pegasus as a child. Goodness me. David, oh, this is so good. I'm not able to comment, just listening and reading. Fabulous. That's really what I'm doing now. I don't know if you've noticed. Bit of a cheap way for me to do the show tonight, isn't it? You know that I'm just hanging on for 2 minutes until it's break time, don't you? Of course, when I will be having my lovely cup of tea. This is when it's best, says Buster, when it's too fast to keep up. It certainly is, I have to say. I really enjoy, you know, when I see that chat buzzing away and I can see you guys, you know, you're all a family, aren't you? I've seen it happen. I've seen you sort of bonding over time. It's really wonderful to see, particularly in this day and age, you know, when the internet is just a source of one-upmanship and lies about your life and the portrayal of, you know, unattainable ways of life and cyberbullying and just black markets and all the horrible things. What a wonderful thing to see on Eerie's Vault Live is this family that is growing. I really do enjoy it. So you're right, Buster. When it's like this, it really is the best, isn't it? Hang about. What's this? What? Basiago claimed to have met Obama on Mars. Okay. I don't know if I can get behind that one, actually. That's a little more difficult for me to understand. What we need is a physics expert to call in. We do. If you're a physics expert, if you're out there, then explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, please. Explain to me the repellent forces of what are essentially quantum fields acting upon one another. When I turn the pages of a book, I am a quantum field, or at least, now here's where it gets difficult. The cells in my skin, which are in some way connected but not connected to the cells of my musculature, which are not connected but are part of my skeletal system and is driven by connected but obviously different and therefore potentially not connected nervous system. All of those things, the skin, the musculature, the skeletal system, the nervous system, all made of particles or these assemblances of energies and waves, however, become this cohesive system that all lives together. And when my finger touches the page of a book, which is paper, but it's not only paper, it is ink on paper, two different materials again, but coexisting as the same thing in shapes that I can understand. And I can turn the page, I can manipulate that page, but to the same extent, I can take a bloody great sledgehammer and I can smash rocks to pieces with it. And all of those things, those two extremes, if we zoomed in and zoomed in and zoomed in and zoomed in, become... what are they made of? What's the hammer made of? What's the hammer made of, and how far do you zoom into the hammer? Why? Before it looks like the paper. How far can you zoom in to the hammer, this great hardened thing, before the zoom looks exactly like the zoom of the paper? That is to say, the gaps in between the things that make up the thing are exactly the same and you can't tell the difference. Goodness me. This is a mind bender, isn't it? Let's take 5, shall we? Let's take 5 just to think about that stuff. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929-673-3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air instead. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird. I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. It is. It's your number one stream, at least I hope it is. Baby with a Laser says that those interested in physics should have a look at Nassim Haramein, Marco Rodin, and Eric P. Dollard. Very interesting people. We've got a lot of vibrational things being talked about here, with Blackest Crow saying that porcelain vibrates faster than glass. A little bit thrown from at a car window will make it explode, apparently. And Jonks says maybe the matter vibrating at different frequencies can explain things like ghosts, as they could vibrate at frequencies that are beyond anything our senses can detect. Now, that is very interesting, and it sort of leads me into the other thing I've been thinking about recently, which is, and patrons will know this if you've seen the humanoid extra video that I've put on Patreon, that a lot of accounts seem to happen when people are driving. There are a lot of encounters when people are driving. Hold that thought. We're going to take this call right now. Hello, you're on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Eerie. I hope you have a good week.
Evening. I'm not bad. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Besides the spooky things that happened last week,
which you can tell us about. How's the doggy first? How's the little doggy?
He's good. He's good. He's doing really well.
Oh, good.
He's actually one of the reasons why I want to tell this story, because he saw it more than what I probably did.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it. So
I think it was on Saturday, I'd not been feeling very well. I'd been a bit of sickness and diarrhea. That's just the story for a long
Just
time.
FYI, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I said FYI, and I'd been in bed most of the day, sort of feeling like, should I get out of bed, or am I going to explode if I even try? So Cricket didn't have to be crying to go to the toilet. I put a puppy pad down because if I was like, well, sensible, if I can't get out of bed,
Yes.
then he's got a puppy pad to pee on. And about mid-afternoon, I was just sort of coming around. I was watching a video on YouTube, and I could just hear somebody walking on the puppy pad. And so I did instinctively go over to the dog.
Wait, just repeat that. Just repeat that last bit.
Oh, sorry, is it cutting out?
I just think
Hold on.
I don't think it registered what you said. That you saw somebody walking on the pad.
Like somebody was walking on the puppy pad.
Sounded like, right. I'm back in the room. Sorry. Yes, it sounded like.
Sorry if the signal's bad. I'm terribly sorry. It sounded like somebody was walking on the puppy pad.
Right.
And I'm instinctively thinking, oh, it's him. He's at the toilet. No, he's not. He's on the end of the bed, and he's standing up, his tail's up, his ears up, and he's literally growling at something.
Oh.
So I looked over. I'm sort of like half awake, half not. I didn't see anything, but whatever it was, whatever they were, because it sounded like multiple footsteps on the puppy pad, came from one end of the room to the other. Now, I didn't see anything because I was like, oh, this is strange. This doesn't regularly happen. So I look over. I see nothing. But Cricket, he sees everything. He's barking at it. He's buffing at it. And I'm trying to go, all right, what kind of thing we got today? Interesting what happened today when I'm not feeling so good.
Yeah.
And after about, I'd say, maybe a couple of seconds, the footsteps disappeared. So I'm sort of going, I'm a bit freaked out with that. So again, I went in to check the puppy pad, and yes, the dog had used it, but there was indents in the pad.
There were. Not
from his feet, but there was indents in it. And I'm like, well, I've not been over to it since he's peed on it, because I knew he'd peed, because I remember hearing him sort of tinkling while I was sleeping. But obviously I was too weak to get up and pick the pad up.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I did in the end. I was like, freaky puppy pad.
So were these recognizable foot shapes? Was it shoes, or was it
they
bare
looked
feet?
They look sort of like if you've got a shoe on. And at first I was like, well, maybe they're my shoes, and then I realized that I do not have any slippers. At that time I didn't have any slippers. I was just walking around sort of with bare feet, and I realized, well, if it's not my feet, then who the hell's feet is this?
Yes.
And again, because I was ill, I was like, I wish I could have taken a picture of this. But this was all happening in the space of maybe, 15 seconds. I'm thinking it's 15 seconds. But like multiple pairs of feet were walking across the puppy pad, and I remember hearing padding on the carpet as well. And then just silence.
So is the location of this pad, is it in a corridor now, or is it in a place that maybe at some time was a corridor or a little hallway or something? Just multiple pairs of feet sounds odd, doesn't it? I mean, one pair would sound odd, don't get me wrong, but
yeah, multiple. It was one, maybe two or three people walking across it at the same time.
Oh.
It was in the bedroom, right near to the door, and there is actually a wardrobe that's next to it with a chair. So I'm like, well, it's impossible for somebody to actually, come through a wardrobe and move the chair at the same time.
So
it was kind of really weird to me.
It sounds like sounds like something that. Again, one of Eerie's experiences should be a show on its own, I guess. But I don't know if I've shared this before, but let's sort of paraphrase it. A house I lived in many years ago had some disturbances happening with a younger family member being woken up at night often, and I paid attention to what this younger family member was saying, and I sort of noticed patterns, and it all centered around a wardrobe. And I realized behind the wardrobe there used to be a doorway some years ago, and I moved the wardrobe and the disturbances stopped.
Well, I mean, the only explanation I can think of with this is that one of the, where it is a fitted wardrobe, but where the fitted wardrobe is, it holds, next to it is it's another cupboard. There's where I live, well, the flat that I live in, you open the door to the bedroom and you turn to the left, and there are two cupboards. Right next to where the fitted wardrobe is one of those cupboards, and that's where my sister says that. Well, my sister said that one of the ghosts is in there.
Is in there? Is actually in it? Yes. Oh gosh.
Yes. She said, well, obviously I can't ask her now because she's since deceased, but she said he's in there. He's in that wardrobe.
Oh gosh, that's just creeped me out a little bit. So are we? So who was he then?
Well, the only thing that she would ever say is that he was a kind older gentleman.
Okay.
That's the way she described him, as a kind older gentleman.
Well, that's good.
But one of the things that I do want to paraphrase about this is not the first time it's happened. This is not the first time that somebody or something has seen something come through the wardrobe.
Oh, gosh. Right.
About a couple of years ago, my sister was staying with me. I think it was over Christmas. And obviously, I only live in a one-bedroom property, so I said, come sleep in my bed. Don't sleep on the couch or anything like that. Come sleep in my bed. And it was in the middle of the night, and we're just talking, and she pauses, and you could hear the carpet sort of moving, like footprints on the carpet. And she just turned around, she said, there's somebody in here, do you know that? And she said, they've just come from the wardrobe, and they've gone through the other wall. And I'm just like, no, take your freaky stories with you, and go back to sleep.
Yeah, don't bring that down on me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's just, the way I describe it is, I think she said through the wardrobe, and she said through the boiler cupboard to outside. And where I live, and this sounds odd, but there was actually some sort of I think it was to do with Saxons, something like that.
Okay.
A sort of road that Saxons would take. Because it was all field, and then it was sort of like the Saxons would pass through as they were marching.
And do you think that's the same footsteps then? Or an echo of them?
Possibly that it is somebody just passing through, because it's... Well, like I said, this is only the second time that I've seen it, but obviously I couldn't see anything. I could see nothing. But I just thought, well, maybe it's one of these two spooks in the house, or maybe it's a Saxon having a bit of a walk through the house and just going, hi, bye.
Isn't it odd? And has Trickett sort of reacted to... Did he seem to react to that area prior to that, or is it literally that one thing where he's just...
Oh, he's actually reacted to that area before. When I first got him, I would put him on the bed with me, and one of the nights he actually did the same thing. He was smaller at that time, but his ears pricked up, tail pricked up again, and he started growling at the same place. It wasn't the same time of night, but it was the same thing. where he would grow out the wardrobe, you would hear some kind of pitter-pattering, and then it would just disappear. And then he'd just relax and lay down.
Seemingly sort of not upset by it, but just disturbed by something then.
Yeah, he was just disturbed by it, and as soon as it finished or it stopped, he would just go back to sleep and go back to normal, didn't really bother with it.
Isn't that strange? And I suppose for dogs, they don't have the capacity to sort of sit there then going, I wonder what that was. It's either there or it isn't for them, I suppose.
Yep, and he's, like I know Vic said before that he reacted to, again, something in the corridor. There he reacted to there, and he's also reacted the same way as my other dog and everybody else's animals do across the road. He does the same thing. They all do the very same thing as what my other dog would do, because the other dog, Teddy, he did the same thing. He would do the same thing, but most of the time I didn't hear it, but this time I did hear it, because I don't really stay in the bedroom all that much. I'm usually in the living room.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that because it happened in the afternoon, I'm not usually in the bedroom to actually hear this footsteps go through.
I see. So you think it might happen at the same... Oh, well, there's an investigation for you to do, isn't there? See if you can note a pattern. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yep. In general, it's usually it will come from the wardrobe, and then it will stop where the boiler cupboard is. It will stop where the boiler cupboard is, and then that's it. No other sound. And there's no way that somebody was in the house, because the doors were locked, and usually I have the windows open, but I didn't have them open this time. But also, how on earth could somebody get in without me seeing and scuffle across a puppy pad?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Goodness me. And if the dogs could talk, I wonder what they'd tell us they'd seen.
If the dog could talk, I'm sure he'd say, hey, this is going on here. I found it a bit freaky.
Yeah.
Can we move now?
Can we go outside? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I suppose that, it probably does happen a lot, but I don't see it or hear it because I'm just not in that part of the house.
Sure, yeah.
Or if I do sort of, because I am some of the time bedbound, I probably don't hear it or see it because I'm asleep.
Yes.
Because sometimes I have heard him while I'm sleeping or resting. I have heard him barking, but my eyes are being closed because I can't bear light. So I've not heard anything. But I suppose this time I was just there quick enough to actually hear it.
Yes, absolutely. Gosh, what a strange setup. I wonder what everybody else thinks of that.
Well, like I said, this is kind of new to me because I've only heard it maybe twice. Twice, maybe 3 times. But this time it's kind of weird with, like I said, because it was on padded carpet. The puppy pad wasn't down at the time. My other dog was sort of oldish, so he was, trained. Whereas the other time my sister was there was no puppy pad there, and then obviously the puppy pad's down there, and it's sort of making a... But if you've ever stood on a puppy pad, it's sort of like a crunchy sound, isn't it?
Yeah. Here's an interesting comment from Tiffany, who says, when you're a kid, everybody just tells you you're just being scared, go back to sleep. I think we don't want to believe what the kids tell us they see. Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I do think that sometimes when kids will tell you, hey, I've seen something. Like many years ago when my youngest niece was maybe about 5 or 6, she would go into my mum and dad's bedroom at the time. And she maybe had turned about 4 or 5. And she just came in one day and she's crying her eyes out, saying, I don't want to go in there. And, we're just going, it's all right. We know we're here. We're all the... I don't like to go in there. It's spooky in there. They're spooky.
Gosh.
They're spooky. So I would have to... Me or my sister would have to go in there with her while she's watching the television or whatever she's doing. And then as she got a bit older, she used to say, I don't like it in there, but I'll sit in there. she used to run in and slam the door. So,
Oh
and
God,
we're
yes.
just going, she's probably imagining something, but she genuinely was frightened. So, as an example, another time, I'd gone in. I'd said to her, I'll join you in a minute because I had to take a phone call. And I saw her walk into the hall, and she paused. She turned around, and her face drooped, and she burst into tears and just ran back to me crying. And I'm like, there's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there. And I said to her, there's nothing there. I said, you can't see anything. Yeah, but it's up there. It's up there. I said, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I said, what is to be scared of? I said, it's only Grandma and Granddad's room.
Yeah.
And they, like I said, I never really saw anything in there, and I didn't see anything. So I was like, oh, it's just your imagination. But now when you look back, it's like, did she see something?
And that's the thing. We never, and we cannot remember. This is another thing about us as human beings. We can, our speculation and all of that, we can be very, very intelligent and erudite and eloquent and, discuss all these grand ideas. But for me personally, I really cannot remember very much about since 3 days ago, if I'm honest. But as I'm getting older as well, I cannot remember what things were like. I remember snippets of little stuff that happened, but I can't remember the emotional feelings of what things were like, if you know what I mean. So I think we lose an ability to empathize with age, I feel.
I do believe that. I do think as we get older, we just become more rational, and things that, would be like, oh, it's silly. You don't need to think that. You just lose it as you get older. You just lose sort of that ability to, feel as much danger as what you used to, or your mind just goes, no, it's hard to explain, because I just feel, like you said, our minds have changed since we were younger, or we were just a bit more open to suggestion. I think that's the word. We were just a bit more open to suggestion.
Possibly so. Yeah, quite possibly so.
But still, it's like, again, I've noticed that as I've got older, the really strange happenings sort of have got less and less as I've got older. Whereas when I was younger, they were happening more or less every couple of months or every other week or so. Whereas now I don't really get these things other than, maybe like last week's. That's like a one in a million kind of thing.
Yeah. It's odd, isn't it? An odd sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's an odd swamp to swim in, isn't it? If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, and you just don't feel, and you just go, oh, it's kind of how it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But,
I'm gonna thank you for the call, Fleur. I've got, I think about 5 people have tried to call. Let's explain this to everybody. So, because of the phone system I use is not on a grand scale, it's a little exchange that I created myself. So when one person is on the phone, as we are now. There's no queuing system.
Oh, I see. I can understand.
And I don't think I've ever explained that properly to all the listeners. So this is for everybody. There's a queuing system. So if I'm talking now with Fleur, I can see all these people trying to call, and then, but I've got no way of just going, you are number 5 in the queue.
You are number 5 in the queue. Please listen to some very nice music while we talk.
Yes, and I don't know how to set it up, so I will find out. But yes, all those people who've been trying to call, please do try again.
Yeah, please do, because I'd like to hear what other people have to say and such. Like I said, I love it when other people talk as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So
and if anybody's got opinions on this idea of, do we become desensitized with age, or is age nothing to do with it? Is it environment or whatever, then let's hear that as well, because that ties directly to Fleur's experiences there.
So I will let you go, Erin. Please, everybody, please do ring in. Please, please.
Someone trying right now. Thank you, Fleur, ever so much.
Thank you.
All
Erin,
right.
take care. Have a good weekend.
Cheerio, you too. Good night.
Bye. Bye.
I do so hate to sort of stop callers, you see. As you've noticed on the show, I do just let people talk, because why not, right? But the phone system was going crazy there for a minute, and I know exactly what's going to happen now. There'll be 0 calls coming in now because people have gone, "Hey, he's not answering me," you know. But yes, that's the system we have. So I don't have a call queue system yet. And frankly, the reason for it is, number one, I don't really know how to set one up without having to subscribe to a service, which again, costs more money. I already pay for the phone lines, so I didn't want to add to it. Anyway, that's my worry, not yours. So if it cuts you off, try again. Hello from Australia. Oh, thank you very much. Good old WA there in the chat. Now, I've seen lots and lots of chat here. Gosh, it's hard to keep up with, isn't it? I'm sure Buster Piles was talking about accidents in bed and it was a ghost. At one point, somebody said ectoplasm. I wondered if it might have rather been rectoplasm. But anyway, here's another call. I told you there was some more. Good evening and welcome to Eerie's Vault Live.
Hi, it's Matilda from the chat room.
Hello, Matilda. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. I am a newbie, but I'm quite excited to tell you about, 2 experiences that I've had. The first one I had was a voice that shouted my name, and I looked around to see who it was. I was actually working as a lifeguard at the time, and in my line of view, I actually spotted a tiny little arm sticking out from a play mat that was in the swimming pool. And if it hadn't have been for the voice shouting my name, I wouldn't have been able to have found that child that was drowning at that time and managed to pull her out.
Oh, wow.
Before anything bad happened. But I looked around again to thank whoever it was that had drawn my attention to it, and there was absolutely nobody there.
Oh, my goodness. A bolt from the blue, yeah, to save somebody's life. Wow. What sort of voice? What sort of voice was it?
It sounded like a masculine voice.
Yeah.
But that's all I could tell you. It wasn't a voice I recognised. But I was thinking maybe the little girl had a guardian angel.
Yes.
Or something like that,
Yes.
That's what, sort of makes me feel really good about not just saving the life, but knowing about guardian angels.
Yeah, that there's some form of looking after us involved somewhere, certainly.
Yeah, well, her parents were sitting arguing on the side of the swimming pool, so they weren't paying any attention. And my duty as a lifeguard wasn't to just stand there and look after one child. I had to look after all the other children in the swimming pool as well. And it was a Saturday afternoon where we had all the play stuff out. So there were mats that children were standing on, and I had to tell them to kneel down because if they fall off, they'll smash their head on the side.
Yeah, all that stuff. When they ignore you when you say it, yeah, all that stuff, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter if you blow your whistle, does it? No. And my second experience was even more quite phenomenal. I had gone into Lincoln City and to visit the cathedral, as I've always wanted to go in and have a look around, and I was actually born in Lincoln. So I had never been there. And I walked into the cathedral, and I was actually feeling a little bit upset at the time. My partner and I had a bit of a row, so I was feeling a bit down in the dumps, but thought, nope, I'm going to cheer myself up. I shall go out and have a look around the cathedral. And I was walking up the outside on the left-hand side of the cathedral, just admiring all the artwork and the carvings on the pews, and etc. And I came to stand beside a huge big pillar, and I looked up at the organ pipes that were going up into the rafters, and I was looking for the imp, the famous Lincolnshire imp.
Oh, yes, yes.
And as I looked up, a sob just came up my throat from nowhere. Just at the same time, something caught my eye to the left of me on the ground. And what appeared before me was absolutely, the only way I can describe it, it was like it was carved into the ground, into the stone black ground, but it had huge wings, and the head was slightly tilted to the left, and the eyes were the most biggest, ovalest, bluest eyes, like sky blue eyes that just shone out of the ground. Now, my first logical instinct is to, right, there's stained glass windows.
Okay,
you know, there's got to be
a reflection
light
or
coming
something,
through.
yeah.
Yes, I'm a very logical person. But I turned round and there aren't actually any windows there that had any light pouring through to actually make something like that appear on the ground. And it started to disappear. So I looked back and looked harder at it because I was very confused as to what I was actually witnessing. And it came back so strong, and the sense and feeling of love and protection and a warmth that kind of enveloped me. And just at that moment, I then heard thousands of angelic voices singing. And it was the most heavenly, beautiful, angelic choir. And at that point, my knees gave way and I just fell to the ground, and I just found myself crying quite hard. And then suddenly, as soon as I'd started crying, it's almost like I stopped crying, and I physically felt something wrap around me and pull me up and put me back on my feet.
Wow.
And I still didn't believe what I had seen or what I had heard, because I looked around to see if anybody else had seen it. Had anybody else heard anything? Was anybody else looking as surprised and as shocked as I was?
Yeah.
And I walked over to the curator and asked if I could pop in to see the where they were holding a service. This was on a Saturday morning. And he said yes, but I had to be very quiet because obviously there was a service going on. And I figured there'd be quite a load of people in there, and they were amazing singers. Well, I walked in and there must have been about 9 old biddies just sitting there with hymn books, and I was absolutely blown away that the experience that I had just, well, I feel like I witnessed something phenomenal.
Yeah.
And this angel, because I say it was an angel, there was no light, there was no halo. I would have likened it more to a giant bat, but with a human form face.
Gosh.
Only the face was etched in the, like, carved into the stone ground. So it had like a line for its nose and a very, very straight mouth. You know, like when you draw a dash when you're writing.
Yes.
It looked like a dash on its face as a mouth. But the eyes were an absolute... I've tried to kind of look up the colour, and the closest blue I can find is cerulean blue.
Okay.
If you know what cerulean blue is.
Let's have a quick Google of that.
It's a beautiful, beautiful blue.
Well, it is, isn't it? Rather.
And
cerulean blue. Oh yes, I've got a version of it here in front of me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful sky blue, but they just shone. It just shone out of this stone face that was covered, and it was massive. I can only say it must have been about 10 foot tall, 12 foot tall.
Wow!
Even though it wasn't standing up, it was
flat, flat on the floor,
ground.
wasn't it? So right.
Yeah,
Gosh.
like it was see-through, like it was invisible, but I could see the outline.
You see, until you said that, I was picturing sort of square flagstones and it being just on one of those. But then you said the size of it. Wow, that's incredible.
It was huge.
Yeah.
It was mad, which is why I was blown away that nobody else could see it. Nobody else looked like they were. I mean, I fell to my knees. My knees just gave way, and And it's not that I passed out or anything like that. I wasn't on drugs. Hadn't been drinking. There was none of that malarkey. So that was absolutely, just blew me away.
Wow.
That and the voice from the little girl that I saved shouting my name.
So when you think that you sort of said it might have been the little girl's guardian angel, potentially. But
well, what happened with the little girl happened years before I saw the angelic and had the voices and everything in the cathedral.
Oh, I see.
But I was kind of thinking, because that's apparently how guardian angels work. They work through humans.
I see. So you were an instrument in that instance for the little girl, and
absolutely. I was the tool, or I was the vessel that was there being used to try and obviously the nearest human that could have saved her.
Wow.
The parents weren't going to be any good. They were too busy engrossed in arguing.
Yes, of course.
And it was my job. It was my role to
So who else,
there.
right? Who else really to do it? That's right. And then you have your own spiritual, would you call it a spiritual experience?
Absolutely. Totally spiritual experience. Yeah. And I can't think of, the only other thing was a bit of a superhuman strength thing that I actually experienced when I saved a lad who was having a grand mal epileptic seizure.
Okay.
And I had to pick up a chair with my left hand. I'm right-handed. Picked up a chair that he was about to throw himself onto accidentally in his seizure, and it would have impaled him. And I picked it up with my left hand, managed to catch him with my right arm, and he was a big fella. He must have been about 6'2". He was a builder. And I threw this chair halfway down. I was on a beach at a time. And the following day, somebody asked me how come I managed to throw the chair halfway down the beach. And it was a big wrought iron one.
Oh,
I
gosh.
I had no idea, but I think that was like adrenaline rush.
Yeah, Incredible Hulk sort of thing, that.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not an Incredible Hulk star. I'm only 5'3".
Yeah. That's, what was his? Gamma radiation. You weren't fooling with that, were you? No.
No. I wasn't bitten by a spider or anything like that.
Yes.
But those are my experiences. Thank you very much for allowing me to share them.
Fabulous. Thanks ever so much for calling. That's wonderful.
You're very welcome. And I'm loving the show. Thank you very much.
That's great to know. Thank you ever so much. Cheerio, and thanks for the call. Bye.
Bye.
There we go, chaps. Superhuman strength. Now that is an area of discussion I would like to know about. Superhuman strength and near misses, actually. Near misses are very interesting to me. Moments where really you should have been dead, but you weren't, of which I've had a couple in my time. Near misses really make you think there is a form of guidance out there, potentially. But quite what it is, who knows? And of course, the little girl in the swimming pool had a near miss, didn't she? Yes. A carven, angelic sort of figure and a spiritual experience. There you go. And we never know if we found the imp or not. We didn't find the imp, of course. Something much better was there, wasn't it? What a great call. Yes. Lots happening in the chat here. Goodness me. Buster saying, do you know what I've learned from observing here over the last year? Gosh, has it been that long, really? Is that everyone has a peculiar event in their life. We think the world is very normal, but odd things are happening constantly. Yes. And I think you're quite right in that respect. And do you know what? It makes me wonder how many we just will never hear about. How many we will just never find out about, you know. And I'm in the middle of a project right now where I'm sort of cataloguing all the topics of all the videos I've done, but I'm also cataloguing the cases that are submitted by viewers. So over on eriesvault.com, of course, you can submit your own case files. So I'm in the middle of cataloguing all those as well. And I will at some point be going through all the live shows and cataloguing the individual stories that I've heard there. That's something I should have done when I began, really. But, you know, you don't know how things are going to go. You can never really be sure, you know, is Eerie's Vault Live going to be a thing? And it became a thing. So now I've just got a bit of sort of a back catalogue to do, as it were. But yes, you're quite right. You know, odd things happen constantly. Some people love to talk about them. Some people don't ever want to talk about them, ever. And then there's a sort of middle ground of people who will discuss it to a degree, you know, but they don't really want to. I think there's a fear of provocation sometimes. In that talking about a thing might give it life, etc. Not particularly speaking of tulpomancy as such, although that is a thing, as they say, but just letting something into your sphere, into your environment, you know. Some people just don't like it, and I don't blame them. There are things I will never talk about from my varied experiences. I may write a book one day. I won't write a book. I'm one of these people who says, I will write a book, and then I won't write the book. I don't have time to write books, if I'm honest. And it feels difficult. So goodness knows. It'd be nice to have an Eerie's Vault book, but just not. I'm not really the book writing sort. A friend of mine is an author, and he's written a couple of things, not on this subject actually. He's written books about British wrestling and about old television shows and things like that. He interviewed giant haystacks once upon a time, various other celebrities. He's one of these guys who just knows lots of celebrities, you know. Write that book, says Hexotica. Yes, I might do. I'd read it, says Blazing. Goodness me, you could could ghostwrite it. Now that's funny. But yes, it is an option, isn't it? I could ghostwrite it, actually. Matt McMuff, hello Matt, says AI will help. I'm resisting the temptation to throw all my experiences into an AI. I'd want to write it myself. The website is your book, of course. It is part of it, isn't it? There lots of experiences that I've had and lots of experiences that other people have had that really I'd like to publish, you know. But it'd have to be stand out from everything else. There's so much other stuff out there, isn't there? You know. So many other books. That was grammatically terrible, wasn't it? So many other books, I mean. David said, I'd love for you to write it. Goodness. Maybe I have to write it now. Doug says, automatic writing, perhaps. Funny you should mention that, Doug. That is part of the topic of Tuesday's upcoming video. So, of course, we have a video coming out on Tuesday, which... and I forget who asked for it now, particularly, looks at 3 particularly odd cases of Ouija board usage. I won't do AI, Marinus, I won't. Ouija board usage in the UK, one of which was at a school in Liverpool, one of which was a jury who used a Ouija board, which I'll tell you about in the video. And, of course, another one that ended up in a poltergeist activity. We have a call coming in. Let's take this. Good evening. You're on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome.
Good evening, Ian. It's Ian Parkin here again.
Ian, hello to you. How are you, sir?
Not too bad, thank you. You?
Jolly good. Yes, I'm well, thank you.
Good. Yes, well, this week I've got another one which I've written down. And it happened to me again when I was younger. And it's an interesting one.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yes, a cryptid in the back garden.
Oh, that sounds like my cup of tea.
Yes, it's going to be very well, yeah. And a question mark again, obviously. Cause,
yes.
Anyway, to the best of my recollection, I was 11 or 12. This would be 1965 to 1966. And I was sat in the dining room, either drawing or doing homework, on a weekend afternoon. I can't now be sure which. I do remember I had, for some reason, got up and walked over to the window, which looks out onto the backyard and over the garden. I was looking to the left of the garden and to the corner of the two walls which surround it on the west and north sides. Now, at that time, in this corner, there was a lilac tree, which was around 3 years old. And as I watched its leaves being moved by the wind, I happened to look toward the northern wall and was surprised to see a large flying insect which had just flown over the wall and was on a descending trajectory as it flew north to south across our and the left-hand neighbour's gardens. It had a large black body which had furrows along it, which was about 12 inches long by about 2 inches in depth, with a large black head and 4 large wings, arranged like those of a dragonfly. However, these features weren't the most interesting. The most interesting feature was its 6 improbable pink legs, which hung down from the body, angled slightly back as it flew along, which it continued to do, changing course to its left and moving across our garden, and then closer to our yard and over to next door's yard, climbing higher and finally disappearing over the outhouse and their left-hand south-facing garden wall. Now, back when it was about a half to 2/3 of the way across, I shouted to my mother to come and see, but she, of course, did not believe me, shouting, "Oh, get away with you," from the kitchen. And that was how that sort of progressed.
So a black, approximately 12-inch creature with 4 wings but 6 pink legs.
Yes, yeah. It's quite amazing. I mean, I've never seen anything with 6 pink legs before or since.
No.
To be honest.
Did you get the sense? Did you get a sense of insect, or was it clearly not insect?
Well, obviously when I was saying insect, but of course, when I look back and think, but was it just yet another apparition? Because having written it all down here and had another thought about it, I mean, I've noticed the similarities with von Richthofen, because it came from the same direction and the same place, and flew in a very sort of similar course, though lower, and didn't go up into the sky this time. And of course, it's got the red-pink legs, which is similar to the colour of the plane.
This is the red. This is the red.
We're connected.
Red Baron, is it?
Yes, the Red Baron. Yeah.
Okay. So, a reflection or echo of something like that potentially.
Yes. Yes.
So that opens up a can of worms, as it were.
It does.
It does in that. So echoes or reflections, or let's say even recordings, then of things from the past, or even things from the future, maybe.
Yes.
Being perceived in the skin of something natural, as it were.
Yeah.
So an insectoid skin, but really, oh gosh, that's you've opened another another line of inquiry there.
Yes. So I mean, I'm saying whether two related and whether they're both similar sort of entities, but just was it the same entity that was doing the same thing, but just shape-shifted in some way?
Yes, indeed. Or as we discussed last time, your perception of it, it's the old double slit thing, isn't it? As soon as you noticed it, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yes. could be that that's true. Of course, that then takes us into the masking aspect of, for instance, in the UFO UAP situation.
Masking.
Yes, on abductions, quote unquote, where they see the quote alien unquote as an owl or a deer, which happens in another case, which I can't remember the name of now. But,
I see. So rather than this often thrown around term cloaking, which I don't know if I'm keen on, this is actually deception, then, isn't it? Really?
Yes. I think the idea is to it's either to a sort of bait, if you like.
Yeah.
Maybe where people say, "Oh, it was like there," and then they change back to reality, their reality as they're perceiving it.
Gosh. Now, do you know, you've just made me think of. So I've relayed this before on the show, where I was in a wooded area somewhere and suddenly felt this intense dread and fear, and had to get out of there.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So I've mentioned it a couple of times, but do you know there was, and now I think about it, it was out of place. There was a fox there. It was seemingly dead. Now, dead fox in the woods, so what, right? But it just, to stumble upon that thing was a great surprise. Oh, look at there! There's a fox. You just don't see them, etc. And then to have that horrible dread shortly after. Now you've mentioned masking. Goodness me, yes. Was there something playing dead in front of me? Well, who knows, of course. Yes, but
it's always a possibility. Yes.
Goodness
in
me.
That respect, looking at it from that angle, maybe there was something there that was doing something which you weren't supposed to see, and so it decided to mask itself and show us a dead fox, and then create the feeling that you perceived.
Yeah, to get the hell out of there. That was
to get rid of you. Yeah,
incredible, just intense danger. I really will never forget it. Actually.
Yeah, indeed, it could well be.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a good one. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I found that reference we were talking about before about the beings. The one that talked about creation.
Oh yes. Yes,
and it's quoted in Jacques Vallée's Dimensions, a casebook of alien contact.
Jacques Vallée's
page 21, and it's about Fascius Cardan. Well, you may have known of the philosopher.
Right.
And it was called the Visitors of Fascius Cardan. And his son wrote, Jerome Cardan, wrote, De Subtilitate, and he explained it all in there. And Jacques Vallee has put it in from that.
I see. And is this was this about the performative sort of nature of, well, what we've just we've just said is deception?
Yes, yeah, or about existence, if you like, being a certain, perceived in a certain way.
Yeah.
And Jerome says that when his father questioned them as to the cause of the universe, they were not agreed. And the tallest of them denied that God made the world from eternity, and added that God created it from moment to moment, so that should he desist for an instant, the world would perish.
That was the one. Yes, that was the one. And so that's in a Jacques Vallée's Dimensions.
Yes.
Jolly good. Yes, it's one of those things you hear, isn't it? And then when you attribute it, it's actually further back in time than you thought. Because everybody, of course, has thought of everything already, haven't they?
Well, yeah.
Is there such a thing as new thought? Do you think?
Yes, I think possibly there is, because I think quantum theory.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's a new thing, isn't it? It's not. If it was sort of suggested before, I think it may have been in different sort of terms.
Yes, and of course
rather than that particular term.
The keepers of the quantum, the keepers of the quantum, when faced with our sort of we've figured it all out, would likely just say, well, it was quantum, so it was there all the time anyway.
Exactly. Yes. which would accord again, of course. With,
yes, that's it.
With theosophy and that that all things are one thing and it's all there all the time.
That's it. So you already knew.
Yes. As I was saying, said in different ways.
That's it. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Goodness me. Well, that's a good one, Ian. Thank you very much for that one.
Okay,
That's a
no
cryptid
problem.
in the back garden ? Of course.
Indeed.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I'll see you. Yes, talk to you again.
All right. Cheerio.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Now, don't go away. I think I've only got half an hour left in me, so don't go away just yet. But don't hang about. If you've got a call that you want to make, please do so after this very brief break. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. Yeah, I think there's a bit of bass needs tidying up on that Fable track. It's a tiny little timing issue, I think. I shall have to deal with that later. I'm enjoying making music again. I don't know if I've mentioned this. I must have. But I'm enjoying making music one more time. Fabulous, actually, to be able to do it again. And even just to write little stings and bridges and things for the Eerie's Vault episodes is wonderful, because it's just, to be creative, I think, is a fabulous thing. It's a gift, really, to be creative. And goodness knows I really enjoy it. I really do. Now then, we're going to go on a little bit longer. I am old and tired tonight. I'm visualizing sparkly cape with, like, Rick Wakeman back in the day. Yes, indeed. Love that moog, says Tiffany. Yes, jolly good stuff. Friday night prog electronica from CFW. That's right, Paul. Yes. Jolly good stuff. So, we've had ghostly footprints or footsteps on puppy pads, entities dwelling in cupboards, and Saxons marching through fields and things like that, and in people's houses. We've had cryptids, ? In back gardens, and a nice segue into philosophy again there, which I do enjoy discussing with you, and I really do. And we've had angelic, shall we say, spiritual experiences, and life-saving guardian angel experiences. These are the many things we can discuss on this show, you see. There is no real one direction that conversations have to go in, and I really like that. Now, Paul Taylor is emailing me. I wanted to talk of phobias, Buster. You're quite right. Let's have some calls about phobias, shall we? You know, about the trick about the phone call is you don't have to tell people who you are if you don't want to. Let's hear about some of your phobias. Paul Taylor, you've been emailing me with links to a YouTube video, the UFO between Wincanton and Bruton. I don't know if I said thank you. I'm thanking you right now. Hope you can hear it. Why don't I just reply to the email? Yes, I know. I'm terrible for replies, you know. I get WhatsApp messages and I read them and I go, ha, 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 and then I just don't answer them. And then I'll answer them perhaps later, you know. But I don't know about you, but I find I can only hold so many things in my mind at once. And when I'm doing so many things in life, it becomes difficult to track a lot of this stuff. And your moments where you just sat there and resting are really, really precious, actually, you know. So I'm not ignorant to people, but I am bad at replying to messages. That's as simple as it is, you know. Let's hear about your phobias. So what is cosmemophobia? Apparently the fear of small bits of metal, a revulsion to jewellery, etc. Goodness me. And it is etc., folks, by the way. I came across this pet peeve the other day when someone kept insisting on saying etc. to me. Etc. And I eventually they said it about 18 times, which is why I said something. It's etc. Et meaning and cetera, of course, meaning others or many other things, bits and pieces. As the Japanese would say, it's nado. They would say nado instead of etc. And it is etc., not etc. Is there a fear of mispronunciations at all? Baby with a Laser says, mine was a really odd phobia. I still feel uncomfortable about it, although it doesn't bother me as much now. Goodness me, that's cryptic, isn't it? I I don't like spiders, all right? I don't. Am I frightened of spiders? Yes, I am. I'm frightened of big spiders, all right? Absolutely, I am. Small spiders, not so much. Whatever happened to those red spiders you used to see on the wall all the time? Where did they go? I haven't seen those for years. Spiders I hate. If I see moths, I don't like. Anything with legs, anything that can crawl into my ears, I don't want to know about. My wife actually has to throw out the spiders in this house. Yes, yes. Doug picks them up himself and throws them outside. They're pretty friendly. Goodness me. No, they're not. They're not, Doug. Yes. So fear of... It's a definite... You see, I think there's a distinction between fear and not liking. I can throw spiders out, you know. I can put a glass over them, put a bit of paper under the glass, and then take them outside. I can do that, so that's fine. Marius, scared of the sea with icebergs, a strange phobia from someone from Oz. Yes, indeed. That's an odd one, isn't it? I certainly am frightened of water that I cannot see the bottom of. I would say I have an aversion to spiders, let's say. Matt has claustrophobia. He's frightened of Santa. Yes. I don't want to imagine giant Congo spider cryptids that, you know, and I'm quite sure there must be some. The Congo, what a melting pot of just wonderful possibilities the Congo really is for us cryptid nerds. Us cryptid nerds. Have there ever been cryptid insects? I wonder. I do seem to recall giant dragonfly reports, actually, with the wingspans of like 4 feet in Texas, I think. And, oh gosh, somewhere like Indonesia or someplace like that. Enormous, what do they call them? Prehistoric sort of dragonflies, maybe. Now, funnily enough, giantism, because I often think about this. Agoraphobia is a fear of fights. Very good. Very good. Andrea, my mother, is that a phobia? Yes. Phobia of sharks and werewolves, both just as likely, in my opinion. There you go. Quite reasonable fears to have, I would say. Certainly would. Where was I about to go with that? Yes, here's something. So giant creatures. Why are all the giant creatures dead? Why on earth wouldn't giant ones survive? And one of the reasons, apparently, is the level of oxygen in the atmosphere now. The level of oxygen in the atmosphere is preventing giant creatures anymore. That's one of the things. Of course, there's a theory that the further north you go, I think, the colder you go, the bigger creatures get as well. I wonder what's under the ice, personally, but anyway. Dingley Dale says, spiders don't bother me as much as moths. I hate moths, Dingley Dale. I cannot stand. Oh, my God, this next bit. My mother once told me my uncle got one in his ear when he was young, and they struggled. Oh, God, they struggled to get it out. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. My head spins with heights, says James. Not great being in the army like that, with climbing up ropes and coming down cliffs. Goodness me, how did you cope with that then? Am I right in thinking I've heard there are sort of two fears that humans are born with? One of them is the fear of heights, and one of them is, I think, the fear of loud noises. I think I've heard that we are born with those two, fears. Yes. You can tell I'm getting tired now, can't you? Yes. Jan fears human-like but not real, dolls, etc. I also don't like heights. Yes, there's something about dolls, isn't there? That it's the inhuman. Goodness me! I mean, the topics we've discussed on Eerie's Vault for the last couple of weeks, certainly. Inhuman humanoids. Do you know the one that got me? It was the one, I think it's in the video from 2 weeks. No, it was, yes, it's in the most recent video, I think, where the woman was driving and she says she saw a very small human figure, but it moved like a puppet. Whether that means marionette, as in a suspended sort of arms on strings, or whether it's a stop-motion jerky movement, I'm not sure. Equally terrifying, the both of them, I think. Blackest Crow doesn't like looking up at tall buildings. I can understand that one. Tiffany, when I was younger, I was very scared to go outside at night and look up at the stairs. It made me feel so small and insignificant. I still don't like scenes when an astronaut is untethered in space. Those scenes, to me, I don't like scenes of claustrophobia in films. I don't like seeing people get hurt in films either, so I don't really watch horrors and things like that. I just don't like seeing human beings being hurt, end of. But certainly an untethered astronaut in space is a terrifying concept to me, because, I mean, you could just float away forever, right? And that's very similar to the, it isn't. It's similar to the fear of not seeing the bottom of the water because you don't know what's there. But also, it's not that you don't know what's there, it's that it seems infinite as well. That's one of the things. And of course, out in space, well, it would be infinite as far as we could appreciate it, because you wouldn't last very long, would you? Whether space is infinite, that's another question, isn't it? Another question. Is the infiniteness of the universe an infinity of a true sense, or is it just very, very, very big? And what's outside the glass bowl? That's what we want to know, isn't it? David says, I'll fly if I absolutely have to, but I'm horribly afraid the entire time. I much prefer to drive. I'll definitely hop on a plane if I ever get a chance to go to the UK. Yes, some people have fears of flying. Again, perfectly reasonable fear, I think. Oh my God, Marius, I lived in a house infested with cockroaches. I used to wake up with them crawling in my mouth. Not scared of them, just an intensive hatred of them. Oh my God, I would never get over that in my life. I would have to gargle with fire. Darren says, I had a fear of small spaces, but that's all. I outgrew it. Yes. Spiders, dolls, and heights seem to be very common fears. Spiders and heights I can understand, but I wonder why dolls. It's because they are like us, but they are not us. You could go on a very philosophical and sort of a socio-philosophical exploration of they are not like us, but they are like us. There are many levels to that conversation, certainly. Eerie, I just had to have the old stiff upper lip. Yes, strong arms up the rope is very quickly and touch the gym ceiling. Luckily, I was strong quickly and down, but no looking down as I did it. Yes, indeed. Quite. Goodness me. What else have we got here? Yes, my Achilles heel. Water that I cannot see the underneath of. We haven't detected any curvature in the universe yet, so as far as we are concerned, says James, it's infinite. Well, there you go. No curvature, so no horizon. I see. So no container, as it were. But is that because we're in a huge glass bowl and there is some refraction going on and that curvature is hidden? Who knows? Steadbot says, if the universe is infinite, how far do you travel before it begins to repeat itself, and would it repeat itself? And of course, the concept of infinite is often thought of in linear terms, isn't it? The concept of infinite is that it goes on forever, as in it stretches from here over there infinitely. And of course, some infinities are larger than other infinities, which is another area of debate, isn't it? However, does it repeat? So does infinity actually mean a loop? I like that question. I, of course, have no answer, do I? Eerie, why do you fear deep water? I don't know, Buster. I try and reconcile it with I assume it's because I cannot see what is there lurking, waiting to eat me. A giant creature with teeth the size of my face, something like that. However, it may be this concept that we've just latched onto, which is that it seems infinite beneath me. I can be in 6-8 feet of water that I can see through with no problem. Don't mind it at all. But if you cannot see the bottom, and if I can't see in front of myself as well, I think it's just the thought that it's like being in an open space. So humans have built walls, and we have built barriers, and we have built delineations, and we have built houses, we have built things to live in. Because to be just in an open space is incredibly frightening. And I'm not talking agoraphobia, I'm talking the survival instinct of our ancestors. You're a sitting duck, and I think that's what it is in the water. You're a sitting duck. I don't swim fast. If Jaws or Megalodon or some nasty spiky thing came flying at me and just wanted to eat me, I'd have no chance. I'd have no way of getting out of there. And I think that's probably what it is, you know. But yes, fears are an odd thing. I remember, was it Maury Povich, where there was a woman who had a fear of cotton balls or popcorn or something crazy like that. Yes, Emu Cat, if I was meant to swim in the sea, I'd be born in trunks. Exactly. Exactly. I would have flippers for feet if I was supposed to be in the sea. I am clearly designed to live in a modestly comfortable home near the sea, but not in the sea. Betwixt forest and sea, both of which look terrifying at this time of night, by the way. But yes, the sea can do one. I'm not getting in the sea. It can do one. The sea floor needs to be below head height when standing on it for breathing purposes. Quite. Tiffany says, I can only say I have never ever thought I want to go to the moon or Mars or whatever else. I'm perfectly fine here on this green, brown and blue marble. So am I. I would not like to go to this. Well, would I? Do you know I don't like elevators? So no, I don't think I could sit in a spaceship for that long, really. Did you hear in Japan there is the Tokyo Sky Tree? Okay. And this is an incredible tourist place. You can look across the whole of Tokyo. It's wonderful. But 20 people were trapped in one elevator for 6 hours. Now that is a fear of mine. That's a fear of mine. Getting stuck in a small space. I see these urban exploration videos where they're just crawling through tiny gaps and, oh gosh, no escape route. It's terrifying. I fear Eerie in a kickboxing match. Well, there you go. I can't do it anymore. I can't stand on one leg anymore, never mind anything else. Oh, but back in the day, I was something. Oh, dear. Yes. Fear of death, says Blackest Crow. I used to, but not so much now. Is that because I'm getting older? I don't know. That one is really plays on my mind a fair bit. It's not a fear of death as such. It's just the fear of suddenly vanishing from people's lives, isn't it? I think that's what the fear is. How You don't want to do that to people, do you? But you have no control over it either. And it's the big one, isn't it? And where do we go and what happens and who will we see and will I be judged? Will it be all right? Do we know? Am I still me after I'm gone? If there is a soul, if there is an afterlife, who is that soul? What is that soul? If I, sitting here, am the collection of my experiences, do my experiences remain? Or do my experiences die with me? Do I become new? Deeply philosophical indeed, isn't it? Black as Crow also says, I often wonder how come I didn't die yet, or did I? Now you've hit something there that I have thought about numerous times, and I spoke earlier about near misses. Okay, I've had two that I can plainly remember. One was speeding down the road on a push bike, aged, oh goodness knows, let's say 15 or something, speeding down the road and just not looking, taking a left-hand turn, not looking at all, and by a hair's breadth avoiding getting hit by a car coming the other way. The grace of God was, well, whatever, I narrowly avoided it, and I would have died if I had hit that car. I would have died. And the other was I was struck by a vehicle on a bike. Now that's odd, isn't it? I hadn't put these two together before. When I was struck by a vehicle on a bike, I was launched across a roundabout a long way through the air, and I hit the deck. Sometime later, I was being helped by people in the vicinity. That was a close call. And that makes, in our philosophical sort of mindset, it makes me think, did I die? And is this reality that I am now in the one that split? So in one reality I died, and in this reality I carried on. You've hit something there that I've been thinking about quite a lot. Well, not quite a lot, but I've been musing on it, you know. There's a lot of interesting stuff about what comes next by near-death experience people, yes. You have to question what they saw. This is the thing, isn't it? You don't know. Where did they go? Did they even see anything? It's so difficult, isn't it, to form an opinion, and we cannot. We shouldn't expect it of ourselves that we can, really. James says we survive death. We judge ourselves. The self-review by our higher self. Goodness me. Now that is a deep one, isn't it? We judge ourselves. Gosh. You've got to wonder what it does. You've got to wonder what theories of evolution and, you know, natural selection, the physical, right? Fish develops ability to walk around on land, occupies niche area of food and habitat, and then suddenly you've got fish with legs, mud skippers or whatever. Or, you know, a parrot has a certain shaped beak which allows it to, by magic, eat the weird shaped nuts on the island that it lives on. But are there any studies or conceptions of evolution of spirit? There must be evolution of soul, I guess. And is part of the judgment a part of the evolution as well? Could we deny ourselves an evolutionary pathway if we found ourselves falling short. Goodness me. We do get into some deep questions, don't we? You know. Really, I like to hear about the person who's seen a Bigfoot, but I love these deeper questions as well. David's enjoying himself. He's a ghostly consciousness hanging out in this chat. That's it, you see, isn't it? Battery about gone. Andrea, thank you for joining us. Thank you very so much. Yes, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Let's hope you're better as well. When our caller mentioned the calling out of their name at the swimming pool, it put me in mind immediately of Andrea's tale of hearing her name called from the woods or something like that, wasn't it? Put me in mind of that immediately. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes the process the soul has to go through to achieve reincarnation. Is this the 7 levels of... Oh no, the process it has to go through to achieve reincarnation. Yeah. I wonder, my favourite reincarnation joke. Oh gosh, who was it now? Who was it now? I forget who it was, but it's something along the lines of, do you believe in reincarnation? And the guy says, I do. I do believe in reincarnation. But knowing my luck, I'll just come back as myself. That's... Who said that joke? It's one of my favourites, I have to say. It certainly is. Lines are still open. Oh, what's this? Eerie, look up quantum immortality on Wikipedia. I think you would find it relatable to what you were speaking of. I will look it up. Let's do another 10 minutes. Let's have a very short break. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air and state. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird, I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. And of course, the other reincarnation joke is that you come back as a tin of condensed milk, isn't it? It is indeed. Reincarnation. What else have we discussed? Gosh, all sorts tonight. Quantum jingly jangles. All that sort of stuff. Goodness me, you could just theorize forever, couldn't you really? And I do enjoy it, I have to say. I enjoy it when my mind can keep up with things. Eerie says I should cover Ouija experiences. They tend to be bizarre. Well, hold that thought, Serpent Gallery, because on Tuesday, what day will it be? It'll be the 3rd of March, Tuesday at 6 p.m. GMT. The next episode of Eerie's Vault goes live, and it is about Ouija experiences. It's about 3 of them in particular, one of which, well, they're all quite different, one of which I've never heard of before, and I was amazed about it, to be honest. But yes, that's happening in Tuesday's video. A lot of frightening Ouija board experiences seem to happen in other countries, really, but there are 3 that I found in the UK that really sort of caught my eye. One of them's a very famous case, but I hadn't realized there was Ouija involvement, to be honest. And the other two are as interesting. So yes, and of course there'll be a Patrons Extra sort of additional, what am I calling them? Patrons Extra dossier or something, which will also have a little bit more on just my thoughts on them, really. Because I think I've settled into a decent sort of pacing now on the YouTube videos. So, but sometimes there's more that I want to say. So I throw those onto the Patreon as well. And of course, there is a free option to join Patreon as well. Don't forget that. Now, one thing I haven't told you about is, well, some of you I have, the second channel, actually. So what I used to do, and I think I've confused YouTube, which is explaining frankly, quite a serious dip in viewership over the last couple of months. It's quite worrying, actually, for a while. Seems to be getting better now, but I think I've confused the almighty algorithm by splitting these live shows into individual videos and uploading them the same week. So what I've done, because I want to do that still, I want to archive, because I'm an archivist at heart, so that's what I want to do. I've opened a second channel, which is called Eerie's Vault Open Lines. I will link to it in the chat just before we cut off for the night. And that's where we will take the individual calls as in separate videos, and we will upload them, and we'll archive them all there, so that I still get to do that, and it doesn't affect the algorithmic sort of setup of the channel. So I'll point you to that a little later on. So yes, the Ouija stuff, and funny you should mention that name, Zozo. I had seen mention of that name, but all my research kept pointing me to a film. It kept pointing me to some sort of teen horror film. So I didn't sort of go down that avenue. But if you know that is an actual documented thing, I'd like to know more about that, please, because I've cut out huge swathes of script because I just wasn't sure if it was an invention, a creepypasta almost, if you like. Steadbot says, theoretical theory of theorizing theorists theorizes that all theory is theoretically theorized through theoretical theorization. Well, that's the theory, of course. Yes, Eerie, says Buster, definitely record this for the future. Certainly will, sir. In hundreds of years, children in classes will listen to this and say, weren't people weird back then? Yes, they will, won't they? Lehan, YouTube is doing some crazy stuff for smaller content creators at the moment. Yes, they every now and then try to... every now and then, I don't know what they try to do. I don't know. I see videos of the same topics, the same stuff that I'm talking about, and it's up in the hundreds of thousands of views. I do have some videos that are up in the hundreds of thousands of views, don't get me wrong, but it'd be nice if they all were. It'd be nice if they all were, but I will carry on doing what I'm doing. You'll notice small changes to format and pacing, and you'll notice sometimes I refresh all the thumbnails and just bits and pieces like that. So I'm always trying to stay in front of it. However, it's voodoo, isn't it? Really, it's voodoo. It certainly is. So we're going to wrap up now. Hardcore of 85 listeners now. We've spawned 3. Yes, indeed. Next stop 1,000. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could get thousands of people? I would not be able to keep up with the chat. I, would like to expand the channel, but you can only do so much at a time, really. Otherwise, burnout is a real thing, and also so is misguided action. That's a real thing as well. There's no point in doing something just for the sake of it. It must have a beneficial outcome. This is when you're dealing with YouTube, of course, So it's tough to switch from your heady philosophical sort of mindset into a very, very business-like, black and white, must do this, must do that, thumbs up would help the algorithm, supposedly so. Apparently so do all the comments. Comments really help the algorithm. Apparently even the ones that say, where on earth is this guy's accent from, which are becoming tiresome, but it means new people are listening, so that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Jammy Horse, welcome. We're about to just go offline, unfortunately. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put into the chat the link to the secondary channel, if it will let me do it. There we go. This is Eerie's Vault Open Lines channel, which is where we will be archiving all of these calls as individual little episodes. Okay. Yes, I must, of course, mention in videos, like and subscribe. I always forget to do that, of course. Eerie, what you're doing is a new form of media that's never really been done. Old school media, TV, etc. is done. This is the now. Don't stop. I certainly won't, sir. Hexotica has subbed. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. We're about to wrap up. Please do check out that second channel. Drop a subscription on that channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Of course it doesn't. Just hit a subscribe. And then, yes, podcasts, good idea, Steadbot. I'm entertaining the concept of Spotify, certainly, and maybe some other areas. I think I can chop them down into shows. Certainly it's on the cards. Definitely. I want to thank you all tonight. Thank you all callers. Thank you listeners. Thank you chatters, everybody in the chat. What a wonderful evening it's been again. I'll see you in 2 weeks, which will be, gosh, what will it be then? Oh, it'll be Friday the 13th again, won't it? Friday the 13th of March, once again. Find some stories and give me some calls, folks. Thanks, everybody, so much for all your support. Check out that secondary channel. Let's just drop it in there again. I feel like a car salesman. This channel's only got 500 miles on the clock. There you go. Yes, I don't know how to end shows. Thank you ever so much, everybody, and good night.